Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll leave a couple of minutes for people to stream on. Okay, I think we can begin. So this is the final afternoon. But again, as I mentioned this morning, even though it's the final afternoon, don't think that the retreat is already going to end at 2 o'clock and that you could just let yourself drift for the remaining period. But we want to continue to practice earnestly, diligently, scrupulously, and so forth. Okay, so we have a period now for taking some questions, and I see a couple of written questions. So let me take the written questions first. So I'll read the question. It doesn't serve my model of being the short, concise question, but anyway, requires some reporting of the experience. So the writer says, when I was aware of the observing mind itself, all thoughts were gone, leaving me no thoughts to be observed. I felt relaxed in body and clear and sharp in mind. Okay, that's good. Okay, when I was trying to be, quote, sitting on the riverbank watching the thoughts, I fell asleep for a split second a few times in one sitting. All thoughts were drifting. I felt relaxed bodily too, but not clear in mind. Even the observing mind itself was blurred. Was I too tight in the former situation and too loose in the latter? How can I steer the middle way? So that's the first question. Okay, first, what happens, and I found this too, when you're really watching the observing mind itself, or just what, so you've let go of the word mind and you're just watching the flow of the mind. Sometimes when the observation is really clear and sharp, precise and sharp, it seems that there's no room for thoughts to arise, and so the mind seems to be without thoughts. Yeah, that's actually that's a good state. That is a kind of what I call a flowing samadhi, approaching a flowing samadhi. I don't think it's a jhana. It's not, doesn't quite measure up to the classical criterion of a jhana, since the mind is flowing in this kind of practice, but thoughts have pretty much subsided. And so in this case, you just let the observing mind flow on and watch it flowing on, even though there's no visible content, no concrete content to the mind. But you just watch the observing mind itself as being a process of successive acts of awareness, even though there's no clear, concrete content to the awareness. So that is a good condition. And then as for sort of drifting off and dropping into a sleep for a split second a few times. Yeah, that comes from being too loose. In that case, you have to sort of stir up the energy more. And yeah, all I can say is that you have to arouse more effort. And sometimes if one is getting drowsy, I mean, it's okay if you're practicing on your own, not in a meditation hall, even to get up and do a few quick walks up and down and then go back to your seat. Or again, if you're on your own, you could take some cold water and splash it over the face. If you're sitting in a group, of course you can't do that. But maybe what you could do is, without disturbing others, rub the palms together and just rub the face a bit. Or even, again, you don't want to disturb others, but do something to invigorate the mind. Okay, so that's the first question here. Second question, the writer says, I can't sense my intention at all. By sensing the intention doesn't mean that one senses the arising of a particular intention at a particular moment, or the numerous intentions following the first intention. Yeah, okay, so this comes up in the context of doing the walking meditation. So I say before when you're standing in place, and then you're going to take your first step, so you have the intention to take the right step, then you take the right step. When you complete the right step, you pause, you have the intention to take the left step. And so the intention has to be there, even though you say you can't sense the intention, but the intention has to be there. Without the intention, it wouldn't be possible to take a step. Even without intention, you couldn't keep the body upright. The body would just collapse onto the ground. So what you just have to do is note the intention. The intention is the formulated thought, I'm standing still, let me take a right step. Then you take the right step. So the intention is sort of like the commander in the background, commanding the body what to do. It's the mind issuing the command to the body to perform a particular action. That's the intention. So are there numerous intentions following the first intention? Actually, there's whole string or series of intentions. I'm trying to keep it fairly simple because we just have 4 days. But when you get into like a longer meditation retreat, you could see that even when you're taking the right step, there's the intention with each sub-moment of bringing the foot forward. There's a constant intention, bringing forward, bringing forward, bringing forward. Then in putting the foot down, there's the intention, put the foot down, put the foot down, put the foot down. When you're lowering the foot onto the floor, after the heel has hit the floor, lower the foot, lower the foot, lower the foot. So there's like a stream of intentions following each other. But if we try to note all of those intentions now, at this point, it'll become too complicated for us. So it's useful at this stage just to note the initial intention that motivates each step. Okay, so now we come to, I don't see, oh, this is from yesterday. So I don't see other written questions. So let's take the online question. Okay, so Dr. Majid, you can unmute.
Bhante, thank you for another wonderful retreat. Thank you very much.
Let me just put these headphones. Okay, you could go.
Bhante, thank you very much for another wonderful retreat. I was wondering if you mind recommending a book on Satipatthana.
Wait, say again. It doesn't come through so clearly.
I just wanted to thank you for another wonderful retreat. And also, I was wondering if you would recommend a book on Satipatthana.
Okay, I could. There are a few books. The other day in the talk, I mentioned a book which really introduced me to Satipatthana. It's a book by the person who turned out to be my own teacher. This is Nyanaponika, spelled Nyanaponika, Nyanaponika Thera, Thera, called the Heart of Buddhist Meditation. It was originally written in maybe the late 1950s, so I think first published 1962. So the style might seem a little bit old-fashioned compared to contemporary style, but yeah, it's an excellent book. Okay, then for a scholarly study, there's a work by a monk called Analayo, Analayo, Analayo.
I read that book. It's very complicated.
Yeah, it's a scholarly type of book.
Anything for the lay people, because he goes, as you know, through different roots, variation, different suttas, and he put everything together. It's very complicated.
Okay. Then there's a book by Joseph Goldstein. He is an American lay Buddhist teacher, from the early generation. I mean, he's still teaching. He's a few months older than myself. I think it's just called Mindfulness.
It's a tape, actually, Bhante. I've listened. It has 2 CD tapes that he talks about Satipatthana on. He put it in as a video, as an audio tape.
Oh, maybe there's an audio version.
Yes.
But he has a book. It's a pretty big book I think it's called Mindfulness. But if you look up, I think Mindfulness, the Path to Awakening, something like that. That there is a book. Maybe there are audios based on the book, or maybe preceding the book. Yeah, those are the works that I would recommend that come to mind. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is Ashoka.
Hello, Bhante. It's about the mindfulness of the mind, and you were talking about an analogy of a fountain, and looking at the fountain and not so much the water coming out. So is that like saying the word mind? You're watching how the intention that generates that word in the mind. You're watching the process of saying the word mind. Is that? And it's like I'm trying to think. I noticed sometimes there's like thoughts that bubble up, and I don't know what. I think, where do they come from? Because I didn't. It's totally unrelated. It's like a bubbling, like bubbling water. There's all these mental proliferations, but I forgot what I was saying now. The mind. The fountain. Yeah. Are we looking at the? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I get the point. Okay, so looking for the origin of the word mind when one is mentally formulating it is a way of sort of cutting through all of those mental proliferations. Because the mental proliferations are sort of like the water of of the fountain that's bubbling up and spilling over. But what one wants to do is, cut through those proliferations of thoughts. And that is done by looking how does that word mind take shape in the mind? Let me try to watch its very arising. Again, it's just an analogy, just an image that occurs to me. It's like a fountain of water. You're watching the fountain of water flowing up, and you're looking to see where the water rises up from the spout. And you keep on pushing down, down, down with your eyes to see the water coming up from the spout. That's like looking to see where the word mind, mentally formulated, where it arises, how it arises. And that helps one to dispel all of the mental proliferations. One just discards each thought as it comes up, each mental fabrication. You just let it spill over, just like the water from the fountain spills over. And you don't pay attention to those unless they become very prominent, but you just keep on going back to the source of the thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I hope that makes it clear.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Okay. Next will be Raymond. You unmute. Okay, you have to unmute. Okay.
Hi, Bhante. So my question is about my breathing. So this is not a new issue for the past. I've been meditating for about a couple of years, and within the first 6 months, something happened with my breathing where within the first few minutes of like around 5 to 10 minutes, my throat muscles relax to the point where I can hear this sound. And it became a distraction when you introduced the mind technique yesterday, because my throat muscles relax. They really relaxed so much that I could actually hear almost like a squealing sound that was very distracting. But today it actually when I dropped the word mind, it went away. So I was wondering if you have any thoughts on why this would happen, this sound that I produce when I meditate.
The throat muscles relax to the point that a sound comes up from the throat? Is that?
Yeah, it's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like almost a snore, but not yet a snore.
Yeah, this I don't know.
Maybe it's specific to my anatomy, my throat anatomy or something.
It could be just some anatomical feature that causes that. I say don't be too disturbed by it. Just continue to practice and just let it go its own way, so to speak.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If there comes any real serious problem with breathing, then there might be some anatomical feature which needs a consultation with a doctor. But if there's no trouble to the breathing process, then I just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, I've had some feedback during retreats that I've been on. Some people can hear it, and one person it actually bothered. That person asked me if I was doing some kind of. Well, that person asked me to stop, and another person thought I was doing some kind of yogic breathing.
I see.
It slows by a lot. I tried measuring it, and it's 2.5 breaths per minute when that happens.
Just try to make an effort to do what you have to with the throat muscles to make the sound go away.
Okay.
You have to experiment maybe to see what you could do to overcome that. But if you're just practicing on your own, then I say don't bother with it too much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Eva Chu.
Bhante, I have a question about the walking meditation.
Yeah.
Today's walking meditation is very slow. For example, when I lift my right foot, and pushing forward and step down. Now, the sensation on the left foot is very strong because of the pressure,
Yeah.
but you still keep noting the right foot, only ignoring the left foot.
Yeah. Yeah. You just pay attention to the foot that is taking the step. You don't be concerned with what's happening with, say, if you're taking the right step, don't pay attention to what's going on with the left foot.
Okay.
Yeah, you just pay attention when picking the foot up, peeling it off the floor. Then when you're pushing it forward, then you'll feel, it's like, I guess you feel it most prominently in the knee as the foot.
Yes, the
Yeah, as
pressure.
it moves on the hinges. And then when it's lowered and placed on the floor, then you pay attention to the changing contact sensation as the foot is placed on the floor. Don't be concerned if you're taking the right step. Don't be concerned with what sensations arise in the left foot.
Okay. Even though it's stronger,
Yeah, but
because
don't pay attention to it.
yeah. Okay. Okay. The second question is about the sitting, that the last sitting that we go of the word mind.
Yeah.
And I know, okay, a lot of time is kind of blank. It doesn't have any sensation. And am I doing it right? But, periodically, I would note some thought comes up.
Yeah.
But there's some gaps that I notice nothing.
Okay, just when that happens, just know that there's a gap.
Okay.
You don't have to be worried about it, just that there are gaps. This is similar to the first question that came up, the written question, where the person says that it seems like thoughts completely fall away and there's just the awareness without thought content. If that happens, just be aware that just note that there's awareness without apparent mental content.
Thank you, Bhante.
But just continue to let the stream of awareness flow on, and then from time to time, then thoughts will come bubbling up again, and you just observe them and let them rise and fall, rise and fall.
Just checking. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So next, Shyamali.
Bhante, thank you for taking my question. I have a question about something that you mentioned yesterday. You taught us about the techniques of mindfulness. One is mindfulness in naming the feeling, anecdotes, reflections, satipatthana, and determination. Can you
what?
Determination? I think
Yeah.
that's the fifth one, right? Determination or?
Yeah, I said determination.
Yeah, can you explain a little about that? I somehow missed that. Is that okay?
I think if I were to explain, then it would
Not a
take.
lot. I see. Just is that the definition to practice the four that you mentioned before? Is that what you meant by determination?
Say again.
When you mentioned determination, did you mean by having determination to practice the first four? Mindfulness in naming, anecdotes, reflection? No.
What I meant by determination is that you choose certain qualities, virtues that you wish to develop, to cultivate, and to perfect. Like I think I mentioned as an example 3 qualities yesterday. So somebody who tends to be miserly, to get angry easily, and to easily be swayed by praise and blame. So as a regular practice, he makes the determination, let me be generous and practice generosity.
Right.
And then let me be patient even when provoked and insulted and hurt by others. I'll remain patient. And let me keep a mind of equanimity in the face of praise and blame. So one makes those determinations sort of as part of one's regular practice every day. And then as one does so, one builds up the strength of character so that one will start to practice generosity more freely, and one will become more patient, and one will have greater equanimity.
Thank you very much, Bhante. Yeah, I thought that was very useful. So much so that I made a mnemonic, Mars D, MARSD, for me to remember. If you don't mind me sharing with you.
What was it? Say again.
Mars, MARSD.
MAR.
Yeah, Mars D. Mindfulness in naming the thoughts, anecdotes, reflections, satipatthana, and last one is D is determination, to remember
Okay.
it better. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bhante. I'm clear with what you
Okay.
mentioned. Thank you.
I think the recordings of the talks will become available in time once they're
Okay, that would
edited.
be
Then you
wonderful.
can capture. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take only one more question. Is it Chol or Chow? I'm not sure. Yeah, you unmute.
Thank you, Bhante. My question is, during the meditation, when you are sitting on the bank and watching the object flowing by, you don't know them, right? Like you don't identify the defilement that's going by. Is that right?
If a defilement becomes prominent to the point where it's really sort of strongly present, then you designate it, you label it, and let it go.
Okay.
If it's really persistent, then you might have to depart from simply watching the water flow by, and you focus in on that defilement and just keep on labeling it and watching it. And as you do so, it will get weaker, and then to the point that you just drop it and then go back to the bare observation of the flow of the mental process.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that
So
make sense?
a second question then, if we want to do the meditation to transform our mind, do we need to have make the intention during the start of the session that this is the time where we are watching like the mouse coming out, like the cat watching the mouse, and if it is a mouse that is angry, then we will, or a mouse that is greedy, then we will try to transform it. Is that something that we would do and go through them?
Yeah, these are somewhat different modes of practice. When we're doing the simple Chittanupassana, simple observation of the mind, we're not bringing in the antidote techniques or the aspiration or determinations, but we're just watching, labeling if necessary, and then letting go, letting go, letting go. The transformational methods, the deliberate bringing in the specific antidotes, that is for a different kind of occasion. Like when you're watching the mind, say somebody sees that they have maybe a strong tendency towards anger, towards hostility, then they would, not as part of this practice, but add to their regular practice, maybe short periods of loving kindness meditation to transform the anger and ill will into loving kindness. If it's a person who has a tendency towards laziness and negligence, they might do a little reflection on old age, sickness, and death to stir up a sense of urgency. A person who has a strong tendency towards greed and sensuality might do the reflection on the asubha, the unattractive nature of the body. So those are additional, like, meditations that one could use. Again, to use an analogy, it's like a meal, having a meal. So here, we have like the main item on the meal will be the rice, the pile of rice. So that is like our satipatthana, our observation of the mind practice. And then there'll be maybe some potatoes, some lentils, some green vegetables. Those will be like the additional meditation practices that have more flavor. Like the rice doesn't have much flavor of its own, but those have more distinctive flavors. The curried lentils, the green vegetables, the potatoes. So those are like the additional meditation subjects.
Thank you, Bhante.
So we try to get a balanced practice. Okay, I think we're going to do a couple of minutes. So we've been sitting for a half an hour. Let's do like 10 minutes of a quick walking, sort of meditative walking, not breaking it up into phases, sort of halfway between exercise and meditation. Then we'll come to our seats at 2:30. Okay, you can return to your seats. And we'll do another session again of the contemplation of mind. And you could start off with the method of focusing and collecting and concentrating the mind on the word mind in order to see the mind, to observe the mind itself directly. And then when you feel that you have strong enough power of calmness and concentration, then you can drop the word mind and just, as I said, sit on the riverbank watching the waters of mental processes flow by. If you find yourself drifting too much, and even labeling the drifting doesn't work, then come back to observing the word mind till you get some collectedness, then drop the word and just go on watching the mind. Again, this is where you have to sort of work out, be a refuge unto yourself, find the particular application of methods that works best for you. If the mind is getting too distracted, you could come back for a few rounds, even a few minutes of mindfulness of breathing, then go back to watching the mind. Okay, so we'll have a sitting of 40 minutes. Yeah, and when contemplating the mind in this second aspect of just watching the flow of mind, remember that the intention is always to bring to the forefront the theme of impermanence, the idea that the mind is always changing. The mind is constantly, or each mental act, each mental formation is arising and passing away. That there's no stability there, that there's nothing stable, lasting, solid, but all the mental activities occur and vanish, arise and pass away. Because we want to use the contemplation of mind as our entranceway to the perception of impermanence, the impermanent, ever-changing nature of the mind. Okay, we will do a period of walking meditation now. Let us say about a 30-minute period of walking meditation. And you do it in the way that we did this morning, noting the intention to take each step, then carefully attending to the picking up, catching all the sensations, then pushing forward, and then in putting down or placing on the floor, again, noting the sensations, trying to do so in minute detail. Okay, so let us do the walking meditation. Note when coming to the end of the walkway, you note the intention to stop, then the intention to turn, and then you turn, and then you resume walking in the other way, the other direction. Again, noting the intention. Okay, the schedule now, we will have a last 20-minute sitting on contemplation of the mind from 3:40 till 4 o'clock. Then we'll take a 10-minute break. Then at 4:10, you come back, and then I'll give a short Dharma talk, a sort of concluding Dharma talk, 4:10 to 4:30. Then from 4:30 to 4:40, we could take a few questions if there are any questions about the practice. Then from 4:40, then we will do a concluding loving kindness meditation, and then do the sharing of the merits and the credits to those who contributed to support the retreat. Okay, so I think everybody knows the basic methods. So just get started in penetrating the nature of the mind. Okay, let's give ourselves till 4:20. Then you come back 4:20, and I'll give it'll be a fairly short talk. And then we do the final, we could take a few questions, then the final loving kindness meditation and sharing of merits. Okay. Okay, testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm just going to do one salutation to the Buddha, since this is not a very formal desana, but more, we call this an anusasana, like some parting, concluding advice. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so we are drawing to the end of this 4-day retreat. And now our meditation practice is at least the intense, consistent meditation practice we've been engaged in on this retreat is coming to an end. And so I want to speak about some ways that we practice Dharma in everyday life, not in the conditions that are not necessarily under the conditions of a retreat, and particularly to speak about the way Dharma is practiced by lay disciples rather than monastics. And in the Nikayas, we often find, especially in the Anguttara Nikaya, the book of fives, the Buddha often mentions 5 practices which we could say constitute the core of Dharma practice for a lay disciple, a lay follower. So these are Saddha, Sila, Chaga, Sutta, Panya. So first translation, faith, ethical practice, generosity, study, and wisdom. The wisdom of insight. And so the first essential factor for a lay disciple is we have the Pali word saddha, which I still prefer to translate as faith, even though some Westerners balk at that term, maybe because it brings up connotations from a fundamentalist Christian background, which they're turning away from. And so sometimes one sees renderings as confidence, devotion, trust, whatever. But since I don't come from that background, I like the word faith, which has both the element of devotion, belief, and trust, which are all woven together. And the way saddha, of faith, is explained in the suttas, it's said that the disciple has faith in the enlightenment of the Buddha. So this means that the fundamental act of faith is placing trust in this teacher that we call the ascetic Gautama or Shakyamuni, that we have faith in him as a fully enlightened Buddha. And that means that when we have faith in the Buddha, we also have faith and trust in the other 2 jewels, the 2 refuges, the Dharma as the teaching, and the Sangha, which is ideally, it's the spiritual community of those who have attained some degree of realization of the teaching. But in conventional terms, the word Sangha is used to represent the community of ordained monastics, fully ordained monastics. Today it's being given a wider application to mean groups of people who practice together, which, I mean, it's okay with me. I don't have strong objections to that. But when we speak about the Sangha as a refuge or as a jewel, it means the community, the invisible community of those who have reached the different stages of realization. And so the quality of faith means that one entrusts oneself to these 3 jewels as one's ideals, one's sources of inspiration, as one's guides in the conduct of life, in living the life. One trusts the teaching of the Buddha. Doesn't mean that one can't raise questions about it, that one can't investigate, but one takes the Buddha to be the one who has torn away the veil, the curtain of ignorance that conceals the nature of things, and who has seen the true principles that govern the working of the universe, the spiritual universe, and who has seen and realized and fully embodied the ultimate good, enlightenment and nirvana, nibbana. And so in practicing, how does one actually practice saddha in day-to-day life? I say for a lay Buddhist, a really committed lay follower of the Dhamma, one should have in one's home a little altar or even a shelf in which one has a Buddha image and things representing the Dharma, to which one can make offerings. But what's most essential is one should every day do a little devotional practice, even if it's just taking the 3 refuges, reciting the refuge formulas. Or if you have a little more time, then you can print out, I think it will be on the Baos website, the text that we use for our chanting on Wednesday evening, and that we've been using for the morning and evening chanting here, those devotional chants. That the first part is taken from the canonical texts like Itipiso Bhagava and Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo. But then the rest are traditional verses. Ye cha Buddha tita cha ye cha Buddha nagata. So even that much, and to recite it in one sitting probably takes 10 to 12 minutes. And if you could do that every day, at least once a day, better twice a day, it's a way of giving expression to one's saddha. And when you recite these verses and the refuge formulas with understanding, then it arouses stronger devotion and stronger commitment to the Dhamma. So this is the first quality, is saddha, which I translate as faith, in which we can say trusting the Buddha and trusting the Dhamma, having devotion towards the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha of the noble ones, and developing that emotional side of one's spiritual life. And that is what carries one through from life to life, connecting one to the Buddha's teaching. It's not the mindfulness of the breaths that's going to connect us to the Dhamma from life to life. Of course, mindfulness of breathing is a good practice, but if you just put the whole aspect of saddha, faith and devotion aside and just doing mindfulness of breathing without any other commitments or convictions, that's not going to connect us to the Buddha Sasana, to the Buddha's teaching. What connects us is the sense of refuge in the 3 refuges and the esteem for the 3 refuges as being jewels, ratana. Okay, so first we have faith and devotion. Second is ethical conduct, moral conduct, which for a lay follower means observing the 5 precepts to abstain from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, deliberate lying, and the use of intoxicating substances. But it's not sufficient just to be reciting the precepts and just observing the precepts in a negative way, but to really develop the ethical life, one has to try to embody and to fulfill what I would call these principles, the positive qualities that lie behind each of the precepts. So when you take the first precept to abstain from killing, of course you have to avoid killing any being, especially human beings, but we don't go hunting, fishing, and we even try to avoid killing insects. Though if the home is infested, then sometimes you have no choice. But basically one tries to live a life of harmlessness. That is the principle of recognizing that all beings are afraid of suffering. All beings want to live and to thrive. And so one avoids afflicting. One has the intention of kindness, not to inflict harm and suffering upon anyone, especially through acts of physical violence. So that's the first precept. The second precept, you abstain from stealing, but it means you live a life of honesty and try to live a life of contentment, not being driven obsessively to acquire more and more material possessions when they're not really necessary, to live a simple life, a life of contentment. Third precept, to abstain from sexual misconduct, entails remaining faithful to one's partner, and in sexual matters, if like a monastic you can observe complete celibacy, but behaving responsibly in sexual relations with others. Fourth precept, one abstains from stealing, but this entails a commitment to truth, which doesn't necessarily mean that you always speak everything that's on your mind, but especially in essential communications, you try to maintain this commitment to truthfulness, and you never speak falsehood or lies that harm others or that bring some undeserved benefit to oneself. And then one observes the precept to abstain from the use of intoxicants, and this is an important step to maintain a clear mind, a mind in which you can cultivate sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear knowing. So we have the precepts expressed negatively by way of different kinds of abstinences, but also positive virtues corresponding to the precepts. Then the third virtue for the lay followers to practice is generosity. The word in Pali is chaga, which suggests relinquishment, and it's expressed in the act of dana, the act of giving. And in ordinary Buddhist relations, this will entail giving, especially in the traditional Buddhist culture. The lay community takes on the responsibility of supporting monastics and the monasteries. But I would say in today's world, we should understand certainly generosity as having a very broad meaning of giving some portion of one's income or of one's wealth to causes that are of benefit to others. We have a world in which there's so much hunger, so giving to help alleviate, to assist people who are suffering from hunger. A world in which there is illnesses that can be easily cured, so we can give to like teams of medics, like Doctors Without Borders or the International Medical Corps, who send doctors to the most remote regions to provide essential medical assistance. So many ways to practice giving or generosity. So these three pillars of the lay life, we could say, pertain to the development of one's character, of one's virtue. Faith and devotion together, ethical practice, observing the moral life, following a moral life, and the practice of generosity. The next two qualities pertain to developing the side of wisdom. And so the fourth pillar here is sutta, which means learning. And that means it's also part of the job of a lay disciple who wants to follow the Buddha's teaching seriously, to learn the Buddha's teaching. Doesn't mean that you have to become a scholar, but you should learn at least the selection of fundamental basic texts to get a clear idea of the Buddha's teachings, particularly, let's say, for developing wisdom, such teachings as those on the Four Noble Truths, Five Aggregates, Dependent Origination, and so forth. And so, I mean, there are various books available to help you get acquaintance with a selection of essential suttas. And I don't want to promote my own, I'm not out to promote my own books, but I could mention that one book that I recommend that I put together, it's really not mine, it's just a collection of Buddhist texts called In the Buddha's Words, which bring together a selection from the Nikayas arranged in a systematic way so that you can get a good, broad overview of the essential principles of the teaching. Okay, so we have study, learning the fundamentals of the teaching. Then the fifth pillar is wisdom, which is said to be Udaya Attagamini Panya. It's the wisdom that sees into the arising and passing away of things. So that is the wisdom of insight that emerges through the practice of meditation. So this means that a lay Buddhist who really wants to make progress in the Dhamma should devote some time every day to the practice, to the practice of meditation, choosing any kind of congenial meditation object, meditation subject. But for developing wisdom, one can start off with something like mindfulness of breathing to get a basic foundation of calmness and concentration. And then even without going into deep states of insight, you can do a kind of reflective contemplation that I've explained in some of the Saturday sessions we've had recently, by going through the five aggregates just reflectively, not through deep insight, reflecting that each of the five aggregates, form, feeling, perception, and so on, each of these is anicca, impermanent, dukkha, bound up with unsatisfactoriness, with suffering, and anatta, non-self, not to be taken as mine, I, and myself. And so if one reflects in this way, systematically going through the aggregates, observing them by way of the three characteristics, even doing so just intellectually, this will create in the mind the kind of grooves or grooves, grooves that tend towards acquiring direct insight into the three characteristics. Okay, so those are five pillars of the Buddhist life that as a lay follower that you could and should incorporate into your life. Saddha, that's faith. Sila, moral practice. Chaga, generosity. And then, so those help with the development of character. Say that they pertain to charana, to character and conduct. And then sutta, that's learning or study. And panya, the wisdom of insight, lead to liberating wisdom, the wisdom that will culminate in liberation. Okay, so those are some of the practices that one should engage in one's day-to-day life as a Buddhist. And of course, if you want to intensify your practice, then it's good, if you don't have time at home, to join meditation retreats from time to time as the opportunity opens up. Okay, I think I said we would leave some time. I don't know, I think we've dealt with questions already. I think we should wrap up with a short meditation of loving kindness And then we do some expressions of appreciation for those who have helped with the retreat. And then we will do the sharing of the merits. So let us take a comfortable sitting position. You don't have to be too stiff, too rigid in the posture for this. And first we could just settle the mind through a few rounds of mindful breathing. Okay, we're going to develop the meditation of loving kindness by going through the continents, continent after continent. And so we start with North America, Canada, the United States, Mexico, and then we take all the entire population of North America and we generate the wish. May all of the people in North America be well. May they be happy. May they be safe. And may all their good aims be fulfilled. And spread your loving kindness over North America. Okay, then we'll take, together we will take Central America, the islands, the Caribbean islands, and South America all together. We'll call this, for convenience, Latin America. Okay, may all of the people of Latin America be well. May they be happy. May they be safe. And may all their good aims be fulfilled. And then you spread your loving kindness over all the people from Central America, South America, and the islands of the Caribbean. Okay, then we'll move across the Atlantic to Europe, including the United Kingdom, and maybe focus a little bit specifically on Ukraine, currently being trapped in this devastating war. And so we generate the wish, may all of the people of Europe be well. May they be happy. May they be safe. May all of their good aims be fulfilled. And we have a special wish, may peace prevail in Ukraine, and this violence, this senseless war come to an end. Okay, then we move across the Mediterranean to Africa. And we take in all of the many countries of Africa and all of the people of Africa, and then we generate the wish, may all of the peoples of Africa, may they all be well, may they all be happy, may they be safe, and may all their good aims be fulfilled. And then we spread our loving kindness over Africa. Okay, then Asia is, of course, a very big continent with so many different regions. But in the interest of time, we'll have to take it all together as one block. And so we spread the loving kindness over Asia and generate the wish, may all of the peoples of Asia be well, may they all be happy, maybe especially the girls and women in Afghanistan and Iran. May they all be safe, and may all their good aims be fulfilled. And now we spread our loving kindness over the whole continent of Asia. And then we take Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific Islands. Take it as all as one block. We'll call it Oceania for convenience. Okay, so may all of the peoples of Oceania be well. May they all be happy. May they be safe. And may all their good aims be fulfilled. And now we spread our loving kindness across Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific Islands. And then in case we missed anybody, we take the entire human population of the earth. May all of the human beings on this earth, may they be well, may they be truly happy, may they be safe from all harm and suffering, and may all their good aims be fulfilled. And then we spread the loving kindness to all humans in this world. And then we take all sentient beings as one block, beings in all the realms of existence. May all beings everywhere, in every realm, be well. May they all be truly happy. May they all be safe from harm and suffering. And may all their good aims be fulfilled. Okay, now you come back to your body and do a few breaths, in and out breaths, in and out, in and out. Okay, and then we want to give some words of appreciation to some people who have contributed to the retreat. Yeah, one thing I want to mention first, we planned this retreat when we were making up our Zhuangyan schedule for 2023. So I think it was back in maybe late October or November. We blocked off this 4-day weekend for this meditation retreat. And then I think it was beginning of March, I got an email from Lion's Roar Buddhist magazine that they are sponsoring a 4-day global online summit under the leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. What were the dates? March 16th, I think, to March 20th. And I thought, oh no. I thought we're going to have maybe 20 or 30 people left from my little retreat. So I was quite appreciative that we had quite a good turnout. Okay, so some people who were contributed to this retreat. First, is Kaidi Show. I don't think she's online because she was working today, but she had the task of being the coordinator of the tech team. So bringing together a number of people who volunteered. Well, some volunteered, some are part of our regular staff. Is Kaidi there? Anyway, she's a librarian, and I guess she's working at her library today. So we give credit to her for being the coordinator, and then working very hard, very diligently through the entire retreat has been our master of technology. This is Jason Ye. He is always helping with every aspect of the presentation of the retreat, working all of the equipment, camera and so forth, sound equipment. And then sort of behind the scenes, there have been a number of volunteers who have been serving as co-hosts, that is working the Zoom platform to ensure that everything goes smoothly. So we have, I hope that I got everybody. Since I brought my computer here, I didn't have the chance to check the email to see all of the names. So if I missed anybody, please let me know. But we have Jane Du, Siu Koswata, Rucky Kaim, Ivan Tsung, and then we have Doran. Is Doran there? I don't have the last name, I didn't copy it. And Neil. Did I miss anybody from the tech team? I think Jason has, okay. Ivan, see you, Jane. Doran Tal. Oh, Luke, excuse me. So sorry. I didn't get that one. Luke Siarat, and Rucky Kayam, and Neil Haldo, and then, of course, Jason. So that is the tech team. And then this is for the residents of the monastery. The people online have not been able to experience this for themselves, but we've had a master chef here who has volunteered to prepare the meals for the retreaters who are present at the monastery. This is Don Rex Andres, and his wife is here, who's been sitting the retreat. This is Chandana, or Cheryl. I've wished that we could take some of the dishes that Don has prepared and push them through the computer screen and share them with those who have been joining the retreat from their computers. But he's been quite a master chef. This has been like a five-star quality meals every day. So we're very grateful. And this is done as a volunteer service, just purely out of devotion to the Dharma and to help the practitioners. And then, of course, we thank the bhikkhunis, led by the abbess, by Venerable Hong Jan. And then we have Venerable Hong Wei, Venerable Wan Chung, Venerable De Shou, and occasionally we've had Venerable Kai Tong coming in, even though she's about 85 years old, but she's come in for some of the sessions. And where is Venerable Ji Shu? She's in Malaysia. Okay. Oh, I should thank also Venerable Fa Ling, who's been here, who's been like my personal assistant, helping to ensure that I have a drink every time so to clear my throat, and taking care of all of the little things with my concern. Okay, so that takes care of the credits. I hope I haven't overlooked anybody, but if I have, then please excuse me. And of course, I thank all of the meditators who have joined us online and for practicing diligently and for contributing your questions and comments. And so let us now end with the sharing of the merits. We've already done the loving kindness meditation. And so we're going to think that through this practice, we've acquired over 4 days, we've acquired a vast, luminous bowl of meritorious qualities. And we're going to share these merits first with the Dhamma protecting devas, asking them to protect the teaching, the Dhamma in the world. The devas, the nagas, the bhutas or fierce spirits and other beings. And then if you have any particular people that you have in mind, relatives, friends who might have passed away, and you could share it with them in their current new existence, or friends or relatives in this life who might be going through some hardship or difficulties, mentally you direct your thought to them and share the merits with them. And I'll recite the verses for sharing the merits. So we join the palms together and focus the mind with thoughts of loving kindness, of sharing your own merits of the practice with all beings, especially your own loved ones. Akasata cha bhumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Sasanang Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Desanang. Up a little higher. Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Mang Parang. And now we go to that last verse. That's it, that's it. Dukkha patachani dukkha Bhaya patachani bhaya Soka patachani soka Hantu sabepi panino. May those who suffer be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those who sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus. And then we go sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And then we're going to end the session with the three now full bows to the Buddha. And Venerable Hongjan will lead us in that.
Three bows to the Buddha. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bow to Bande.
Okay, so that brings our retreat to a conclusion. Please, everybody, please stay safe and continue your practice diligently to the best of your ability. And please block off your calendar for the Labor Day weekend. We'll probably have another 4-day retreat over that weekend. Okay, so that does it. So thank you all again for joining. And now all good things come to an end, and including this retreat. Okay.
Thank you, Bante,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Bante.
you so much.
Wonderful
Thank you,
retreat.
Bante.
Thank you,
Bante.
Bante. Budaya, Bante. Be safe, Bante. Sadhu,
Thank
sadhu.
you, sadhu, sadhu.
One sadhana, please be safe, Bante.
Thank
Take
you.
care of your
So
health,
much,
Bante.
Bante.
Very much.
Very well.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bante.
We
Thank you,
all love
Bante.
you, Bante. Thank you.
All the
Thank
best,
you.
dear Bante.
Amitahu, Bante. Thank you.
Love you, everyone.
Bye, Bante. Be
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Meditate
Bye,
safely.
Carolyn.
Meditate safely.
Thank you, Bante.
Take care, Bante.
Mucho
Thank you,
metta.
our dear
Yeah,
Holy
we'll see you
Sakas.
on Wednesday, Bante. See you on Saturday and Wednesday. Yeah. Thank you, Bante. Good night. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you, Bante.
Keep warm. Stay safe. Love you all. Amitabha. Bante, we cannot hear you.
好。